Spags, Twitter is crumbling before our eyes. Our fantasy teams are crumbling. Our balances are bleeding. But today, we turn things around.
We're going to ask the important questions today, including what if Elon Musk bought an NFL team or ran one? We're going to talk about that. We've still got Underdog Battle Royales, 25K up top. We're going to draft a team there. And week 11 ride or die picks. Pete doesn't even know what I know, but holy shit, was it a fantastic ride or die picks last week. We're going to talk about it right after this intro. Shortage or Pete, how do you feel about that one? That's just a straight stinger of an intro for us.
I mean, Spags told me right before we went live that he adjusted the intro. This would have been like when my wife gets a haircut and she has to tell me she got a haircut for me to notice it. I would not have noticed it unless you told me.
Well, because I was trying to shorten it up. I've been studying the YouTube data, Pete, grinding here. We got new thumbnails. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm doing a lot of things here to look beautiful for you when you pop in once a week.
Are you still deleting the shows the second they're done like you were doing before?
No, I let them roll for a week so people can go back, see our week 10 takes, can see me do great in ride or die picks, can see you do passively in ride or die picks. That's what we're hoping for. But no, I'm just trying to get the algorithm juice going, Pete. You know, it's a grind here Monday to Thursday, 2 p.m. every day, trying to do this. You know how it is showing up for a show every day at SiriusXM. Similar platforms here, Splash Play, YouTube, national syndicated satellite radio, same thing.
Do what you love, Spags, and you'll never grind a day in your life. I mean, you're having the time of your life. I see your clickbait. I see all that. I mean, you're loving it.
I'm learning the game better and better. So hang out here with us, guys. Of course, Pete and I doing the flagship show every Friday at 10 a.m. But Monday through Thursday, I'm doing showdown content, doing fancy data shows, doing panic rankings, content every day, Monday through Thursday at 2 p.m. So please subscribe, like, and comment. Subscribe to the channel. Of course, leave a like, leave a comment down below. We're also following the chat actively. Shout out to all the guys hanging out. We got Justin in here early, getting out of a meeting to wrap it up quick. Told everyone Splash Play was going live. And shout out to Kevin as well for making an hour of work pass by faster, guys. That's the kind of love we love to see, Pete, for us here on this show. Just guys coming together right before Thanksgiving, which I don't even know what we're doing next week. Are we doing a show?
What next week is Friday? Yeah, let's talk. I'm down. Like I'm doing my Sirius at 11.
So they don't let you off for that Friday? That Friday that's sometimes a holiday, sometimes not?
No.
No.
I think it'll be business as usual for me on Friday because I'll have to do the newsletter. Okay. We can do the show and then I'll do Sirius.
All right, cool. So we'll be here next Friday. Have no fear, guys. Come to us with your tryptophan hangovers. Of course, I'm Chris Spags. This is my pal, Pete Overzet. So please hang out with us here. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow at Peter Overzet. And, of course, follow what everything's Pete's doing. Pete's got a lot of shows going on today on his channel. So go check out JM to Win later on, the Badge Bros, guys. And, of course, SiriusXM coming up in a little bit. But let's get into it, Pete. We got a lot of news to hit on up top here. I guess not a lot of news, but some key news. Jeudy did not practice Thursday. That's a key one because he's going against a Raiders team this week on the year, one of the worst against defending the pass, 31% DVOA boost to opposing passers. And this is one, Pete, where this Broncos offense has killed me all year long. I expected it to be a year where Russell Wilson would show what he can do under the bright lights without Pete Carroll, and instead it's just been a bust time after time. But no Jeudy out there, no Tim Patrick. Greg Dulcich certainly takes some targets away. Feels like at a certain point, Courtland Sutton has to have a good game if we don't see Jeudy out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this a little bit on ship chasing, and it's just tough. I mean, we saw an entire game without Jerry Jeudy against the Titans, and I mean, Courtland Sutton had just a pretty, measly line there. And to me, the whole thing is like, Courtland Sutton at this point, it's basically like the DJ Moore situation, right? Where he's going to command like a certain amount of targets because he's the alpha, and yet the offense is so bad that the ceiling scenarios are few and far between. I included a link in the newsletter today. Some Denver Sports Talk Radio guys were talking about Russell Wilson, and they were like, he's losing his mind out there, that he just like looks completely scrambled. Like he just does not know what he's doing anymore. So spooked, seeing ghosts. So yeah, this is just a team I just have very little faith in. I mean, the only player that I feel comfortable starting on this team is Dulcich, because he's seeing a decent amount of targets, and those targets are downfield. So he's capable of a big play. He almost had a big play against the Titans, but yeah, I mean, you're starting Sutton if you have him, but God, I don't feel good about it.
Yeah, Dulcich, certainly, I think Vegas has given up a good amount of production on the year to tight ends. Or overall 20th in the league defending tight ends, according to Football Outsiders data. Of course, you can get for yourself at footballoutsiders.com/subscribe. But Dulcich, after being chalk last week, him going off this week, of course, would not be a shocker. But I'm keeping that candle lit for Courtland Sutton because one day it'll happen. It just might happen after all my best ball teams are eliminated. Mecole, Hardman, Juju, Smith-Schuster remain out of practice. Pete, we got... coffee pigs, drink that up.
All right, keep going, keep going.
Mecole Hardman, Juju Smith-Schuster remain out of practice. Pete, is Sunday Night Football relevant matchup because that game between the Chiefs and the Chargers got flexed to Sunday Night Football. But it seems like a Darius Toney season. Patrick Mahomes also gave a quote talking about how Toney's going to get more involved as the season goes on. But how are you reading this Chiefs wide receiver core, where it feels to me more and more like the running back core, where on paper one of these guys is going to have a good day? It just feels like you can't have a lot of certainty for anything besides Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I wrote this up in the newsletter with Hardman going to IR. Schuster, I would be really surprised if Schuster played this week after how brutal that hit was. Clearly a pretty bad concussion, but we will see. I think it, is fairly clean as far as how this will shake out. MVS did return to practice on Thursday, and it was just an illness. He was limited yesterday, so I assume he'll play. And then, Kadarius Toney only played 44% of the snaps last week. You have to imagine he gets a really big bump here, and you'll probably see, then Justin Watson and Sky Moore mixing in as the third wide receiver there. So I think this is extremely bullish for Kadarius Toney, and I would have to be absolutely loaded elsewhere to be sitting Toney basically in any spot.
So Justin's asking the question, Pete, that you hinted at there. Is it finally Sky Moore's season? Would you be willing to play him as a showdown captain? Would you be willing to play him in a lineup? I know you'd be willing to play him in a lineup.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just checking, Justin, what the market shares he has for him right now on Run the Sim. So they have, actually surprised, a higher market share for MVS than Toney. I would probably have to flip that. But then he has Justin Watson at 12% and Sky Moore at 5%. That sounds about right to me. But again, like the way they seem to not feel comfortable, obviously, with Sky Moore, but if they did use him, I think it probably would be in more like the gadget type stuff. I think Watson will be more their kind of downfield threat. But yeah, I mean, Sky Moore, like if he doesn't get on the field this game, it's a true coffin for the rest of the season.
And D. Owens, one of our regulars here, asking, would you play Toney or Mike Williams? I think if Mike Williams can go, which seems like it's surprising that he's been practicing in whatever capacity that's been with the ankle injury that was expected to keep him out a month, but he's back out there. I would probably go Mike Williams away, but I think, Pete, it'd certainly make the case for either guy.
Yeah, man, I think I'm Toney. And you'll have to see when the early reports, I know both of them were at practice running routes yesterday, but just kind of some of the reports I saw that Keenan actually had a better chance than Mike Williams of playing. I mean, that high ankle sprain is super nasty there. I just think at this point, I think Toney gives you a similar ceiling of Mike Williams, and I think he has a higher floor, right? Like the way they're using him and the way they'll get him touches around the line of scrimmage, like I feel pretty confident that Toney's going to get the ball. The way Mike Williams is used, like if he's not fully back and he's not separating on those deep downfield targets, like he's legit could put up 0 points like in a spot like this. So I just think you get the ceiling floor combo from Toney. I wouldn't even mess with Mike Williams.
I just think the upside's there because obviously the Chargers are going to have to put up some points to keep up with the Chiefs. And certainly one way to do that is to get Mike Williams down the field. But I agree, like an ankle injury. I mean, we saw Cooper Kupp get surgery for a similar injury. It's a high ankle sprain, as Pete talked about there. So I think I'd be willing to play Mike Williams if he's in, just in the hopes that does matter meaningfully. But I would agree with Pete that Toney is probably the safer play, a guy you could expect to be out there who's going to get an increased workload that'll be not valued appropriately by the markets out there. Pete, other news out there, the one that's important. So this is a really wild one, which I don't know, a lot of sportsbooks handle it differently, but the Bills game getting moved. So this has now been a 5.5 point swing within the last 24 hours. The Bills, of course, were supposed to be playing in Buffalo this week. Snowstorm punishing that area over there. Von Miller posted some pictures as well of his car buried under snow. But now the game's going to be in Detroit. And the total, Pete, is one of the highest of the week for this game between Cleveland and Buffalo. How do you approach this one? Because A, I think we just need to say it out loud because some people might not have paid attention to that part. But B, this makes the game completely different. And the Vegas total certainly accounting for that.
Yeah, like this has been all over. I believe it opened up at a 48-point total. Then we got the thunder, snow, warning there. It went all the way down to 41. Then the game moves, and now we're in what many call the Coors Field of football, although I think that's related to the Lions, not specifically their stadium. But yeah, I mean, this game goes from being a game that people were terrified of. I actually was kind of hoping it would stay in the snow because it ended up, to me, it sounded like it was more of a logistical thing. Obviously, there was going to be some wind gusts. It sounded like 15 to 20 miles per hour, which isn't great, but it's not awful. And then just because people were so worried about it, I think it would have came in with suppressed ownership. But ultimately, it was just a logistics thing. How can Cleveland get there? Can they get enough of a crew to shovel out the field and actually get them on there? But most of the snow, it sounded like, was going to come before that. So anyways, yeah, I mean, this game now, I'm stoked about it. It makes the slate so much more interesting because I think we were going to see a ton of ownership in that Bears Falcons game as the other best game. And now we have a similar total here and all kinds of interesting pieces on both the Bills and the Browns to really fire this game up as a shootout.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think Diggs, too, is a guy's projection meaningfully changed. Of course, I use the stochastic data. And I'll be back on their Sunday morning show with my pal Josh Engelman, too, if you want to check that out right before everything else gets going and start to build your lineups for real. But I think it's one where, to me, we have CeeDee Lamb in the thumbnail. CeeDee Lamb projected to be one of the highest owned plays in the week, following up what he did last week. Another potential shootout spot against Minnesota. I personally might want to go Diggs' way more. I think the data supports him a little bit more in the spot against Cleveland. Team that overall does not defend a pass very well, does not defend very much of anything very well. And it's a much better situation overall. So if that keeps the ownership down, even better. But we'll see as we go. Any other news items, Pete, that's important to you that you want to bring to the people?
The only other one that I think's pretty interesting for this slate is what's going on with Mark Andrews. He's had like some weird practice availability stuff where he wasn't like seen at the media portion, but then he actually practiced. He has officially been limited, but there was a quote that I linked to in the newsletter that was still a little ominous to me. Ravens tight end Mark Andrews told Jamison Hensley from ESPN if he'll play, he said, "You never know. I've been dying to get out there." It didn't seem like a slam dunk because these players always lean more on the confident side. Like, no, I'm definitely playing. And so the fact that he was still kind of shrugging his shoulders, not sure, makes me think that it might still be legitimately up in the air.
Yeah, so that's an important one. Certainly Isaiah likely would jump up out as a play. The Panthers going against them has certainly been productive for tight ends overall in the year, and that's a spot where it's one of the highest totals of the league. So if Andrews is out there, I think he's a fantastic play. If not, I would certainly want to get some likely exposure going my way as well. And again, shout out to the chat as well. Lots of GMs here. Nez, of course, got to give the shout out to Badge Bros guys. We're doing a show with Pete this afternoon on Pete's channel, so go check them out. They're grinding, Pete. I don't know if I know you pay attention because obviously they're under your wing now of tutelage. These guys are doing drafts, pounding drafts every day at a level that I feel like I have to commend to somebody that also loves binging drafts from time to time.
I know. Honestly, I'm just jealous of them. Like they do these like 2-hour, 3-hour streams, when I'm on the radio, just ripping underdog drafts, just living the good life. I mean, these guys, what better than to just be full-time underdog influencers just ripping daily drafts? I mean, it's beautiful life these guys live.
Do these guys have jobs? Like I you know more than I do. Like I did the show. I didn't ask the pertinent questions. I should have gone on there with my 2020 hard news reporter hat and been like, how are you guys doing this every day? But like, what is going on? Because they are committed and locked in a way that it's all about schedule, Pete. It's all about showing up every day, grinding like I do, like the Bad Bros guys do.
I think they're professional grinders, man. I think that's the deal. I don't want to kiss and tell, all of these guys' situations. So I honestly don't really know.
Yeah, the Badge Bros are him. So check that out. Maybe Pete will ask the pertinent questions on his channel later on today. Like,
hang on, let me just say something. John has been clipping anytime he gets a Badge Bros mention. Don't fucking clip this, John. Like we're done with it. Like people know about the Badge Bros. You guys are going to the mood. You can stop clipping these things from these various shows where you get referenced.
Oh, Nez is the husband of an influencer. So
he is. Nez's wife has more subscribers than you and I will ever have in our entire lifetimes if we live 10 different lifetimes.
Wow. See, I just didn't ask the right questions when I did the show, so I might have to come back on and just really not do a draft, just ask them about their lives. Like, tell me more about that. The bros behind the Badge Bros. Let's talk about Elon, though, Pete. This has been a big one this week, and you can see on the screen here as you might have heard the audio going briefly. I'll read some of these things on the screen briefly, but bankruptcy, baby, supreme parasite, petulant pimple. It just keeps going. Apartheid, profiter. How do you feel about the Elon situation with Twitter? Because you're more on Twitter than I am. I've been on it since 2007, and I kind of got my fix of it early on before everybody really adopted it as a mainstream platform. And I was like, I've had enough. My Barstool time especially just couldn't take it anymore. But it is an important platform for content creators. A lot of guys out there, certainly a lot of people too, who just enjoy shit posting, having a lot of fun on there. But yesterday, it was like a dramatic exit from a high school graduation with everybody saying, oh, goodbye. It's been a pleasure serving with you. And I don't know how to feel about it because it makes me cringe, but also I get why this has been such an important part of many people's lives.
Yeah, I'm actually more on a similar wavelength with you. I don't tweet that much. I appreciate Twitter as like a tool, like basically all day when I'm doing shows, when I'm doing, writing, like I have my tweet deck up. I use it as like a resource for gathering news, gathering links, but like Twitter as an actual social platform for me personally has like basically zero appeal. I basically don't, because what happens to me, Spags, and I don't know about you is if I tweet, I know that I'm losing 30 to 45 minutes, like minimum. Like I'm just going to hang out on Twitter after I tweet. You're going to reply. You're going to hang out there. You want to see the notifications, get that fucking dopamine rush. And so I just don't tweet because I'm like, I don't have an hour to spare right now dicking around on Twitter. But it has been hilarious to see how many people are losing their goddamn minds about this. I actually don't think Twitter is going away, even though it seems like an absolute dumpster fire. But as an exercise for people who you quickly realized have poured so much into Twitter and have made their entire life or persona Twitter, to watch them get scared and create Substacks and Pinterest and Truth Social accounts in advance of this coming doom has been very fun to watch.
Yeah, it is certainly, hang out on there if you want. I'm not going to be judging anybody. I think there's like a little bit of a woke component to it of people trying to jump off the platform. But either way, shout out to Twitter for giving us some livelihood. Shout out to Twitter for giving a blue check mark to me at some point in my life. But besides that, I'll just keep using it as it is, and we'll see what else comes along. But we do have to ask the question, Pete, what if Elon Musk were running an NFL team? A natural transition for me, if ever there was one, because there is really a lot of things he's done here in terms of and if you haven't followed it closely, basically Elon took over Twitter with his bid that he also pulled back at some point, ended up spending $45 billion on Twitter overall. Twitter turns out to burning a lot of money, a lot of fake accounts out there, a lot of things that have made it perhaps less valuable than it seemed. And he's just come in, offered people ultimatums about, click this link or you're going to lose your job by tomorrow. You have to lock in to do extreme hardcore Twitter. The same thing I gave to Pete too. I was like, hardcore splash play. He was like, no, fuck that. Get out of here. But I think for Elon, Pete, it's just one of those things where he doesn't seem to know how to manage human capital. So how would that port over to you if he were to, let's say, run an NFL team?
All right, this is what I think he would be. I think he would be a Frankenstein. Let's just say he takes over a team. And look, we know if Elon gets a team, he's going player coach or owner coach, right? Like, there's no way he's just sitting on the sidelines with this one. Like, he's getting his hands dirty. So I think he'd be an amalgam of Jerry Jones meets Cliff Kingsbury. So you got a fake sharp, this guy that thinks he's hot, has some success in other sectors, then comes into the NFL, thinks he can just run this fucking air raid offense. And then no, he runs like the most uninspired offense we've ever seen. And then you have Jerry Jones, who loves to meddle, who loves to get his hands in the dirt, talk about the practice reports, talk about the QB controversies. That's my comp for what I would think Elon Musk would be if he took over a team.
So which team would make the most sense? Because what you're talking about there reminds me of what the Browns did a few years ago, where they hired the Moneyball guys and were like, yeah, let's just bring these guys to the front office. They'll figure out football. And then it ended up being one of the worst experiences around. Hugh Jackson ends up accusing the team of tanking and all that stuff. And I think that to me is the analogy. I think you hit it spot on. The Steve Spurrier guy, the Cliff Kingsbury guy, the college hotshot who comes in and just doesn't have it all, but is also, very analytically sound, or at least coming from an analytics background. And I mean, honestly, the thing with Elon is just he doesn't know how to manage people. And I think as a football organization leader, that's really number one, is being able to manage people, being able to know which buttons to push, which buttons not to push. But I think there is something to that where I'd be curious to see like what he would do for a football team. I think it would just be running like old NFL blitz plays, but ultimately, like maybe that's the way you win at football.
And you know what I feel like would be the perfect organization? So we have this Jerry Jones Hackett comp. He comes in, and I think in this analogy, so he went and put a bid on Twitter, then kind of backed out, then went through with it. That team that he would be taking over would be the Denver Broncos, because it has some interesting things on paper. You have this rabid user base. You got Russell Wilson at quarterback. You come in, he thinks he can fix this situation, but he shows up, and then he's dealing with Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson and all these injuries and a shitty running back room, and realize this is a dumpster fire. It looked good on paper, but under the hood, this is a mess. And now we have a public blow up with Elon Musk, the new owner coach of the Denver Broncos.
Do you think he'd be making this face a lot in Denver? He just trying to look cool, smoking his weed. Ultimately, though, he would need to be pounding even more weed if you had to watch Russ play every week at this point.
Well, here's the thing, though. In this scenario, he definitely becomes best friends with Russell Wilson. I can see them being like on the entirely same wavelength of like, we are these rich, uber rich icons. The rest of the world doesn't understand us. We need to get through this together. And the entire world ends up turning on Elon and Russell Wilson in this scenario.
Oh, I do like the idea of Russell Wilson being his like cool little, I'm going to say butt boy. I don't think we should be saying that phrase in 2022.
Well, good thing you're scrubbing all these videos anyways, Spags.
That's true. Keep it safe. To be clear, that's not why I'm scrubbing the videos. Like, I've had nothing worse here that I've said anywhere else. So I just need to put that out into the universe, just purely algorithmic reasons. But I do think Russ, like overall, like, he has a wife too that would want to hang out with Elon Musk's lady, right? Or is he's still with that pop star girl, right?
Ciara, yeah.
Grimes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I feel like they would be natural buddies here. And Russ, a classic tryhard, though I do like this photo of him. This is a nice little drawing that they put together. Russ, I think, though, would be a good friend for Elon to have, and a guy who I think Russ, the heel turn for Russ is going to come at some point. And honestly, this would be the best way to facilitate it, is him just being pals with Elon, going like, Elon's a great guy, man. He says, look, I know people out there talk a lot of crap about him, but he's really been a center for me, a guy who's helped me really get to the next level. I think it would be great to see him be like a full Elon stan.
For sure. And then like also in this scenario, I don't know who it would be. Like maybe both like Jeudy and Sutton, Elon puts in like this new policy where the players have to show up at like 5 a.m. and only eat raw meat every day or something. They're just like, fuck this, like we can't do it. And Elon also does some kind of like joint partnership with Russell Wilson for his fucking nano water. And it becomes like the only water you're allowed to drink at Mile High. And they actually cut off all the tap water there, and you have to drink this nano bubble water. Like I can see it true. And Elon's sitting there being like, this is a business. We got to run a business. And look, businesses make money. We need to charge our most engaged users to drink this nano water sponsored by Elon and Russell Wilson. I can see it all right now.
The nano water, the water of the future. That's the water we really want to get behind.
Yeah.
The hyperloop of water is what we're looking for. But yeah, so rest in peace, Twitter, of course. I'm sure we'll all be gone from the platform, never to lock on again after its addictive capabilities have sunk its teeth in us for so long. And Pete, I pulled this one up on the screen, but I just got to pull it up again and point your attention to it.
This is your battle, not mine.
Are you pals now? You're going to have him on Sirius XM?
No. The flock ignored my email. I wanted to collab with him. I believe I am hunting him down in the top 500 leaderboard for Best Ball Mania 3. So we'll see what we can do there.
How have you felt about that, by the way? Because I have seen some people out there. It's been a tough week. And Pete, I texted Pete about this briefly this morning, and I actually don't know what your thoughts are. So the fantasy receipts guy has been a thing on Twitter that I've been following very loosely, but I saw Denny Carter, who I think is generally one of the good guys out there. I don't know him personally, but I always see him do things that I would associate with a good guy. But people really shitting on that fantasy receipts. Twitter, I think content creators getting very defensive, people taking mental health breaks about it. Is that something you actually have a take on? Because I think as a fantasy host, as a fantasy creator, you really have to be willing to put yourself out there and be wrong about things. And I think that's something a lot of the newer creators who haven't had success, who haven't had, winning success, like winning big money and all that stuff, or just having not gone through the grind for years of doing this, like Pete and I have done, Pete doing roto grinders, all the content for years, me at Stochastic. I think it's a little soft how people are responding to this stuff, but I'm curious what your actual thoughts are as I pull up this Twitter handle.
Yeah, I'm torn because I forget where I talked to it. I think we were on Tilt Space maybe 2 weeks ago and we were talking about it. Like my take is this, like I'm pro accountability for stuff, but one, the people running this account are like joyless idiots. Like I just wish they were a little smarter because you could have so much fun with this account. Like the fucking passive aggressive, like, oh, look at my little writing thing. Like, first of all, and Adam went off on this on the solo pod too. Like anyone who understands how fantasy football, how prognostication works, and Spags is literally launching a company called Probably, is it's a range of outcomes, thinking probabilistically. And if someone in this industry hits on like 60% of their picks, and those picks tend to be like high risk, high reward things, so when you are right, you're getting paid off in big ways, like that's an absolute smash. So just like the fundamental premise of this account is kind of like misguided in what it means for people. Like, so you're telling me that someone could have like given me the nut picks, like every single one, and then had one huge whiff, and that's the one that's getting quote retweeted and like, smashing their reputation. Like to me, the use of the account, like if you want to do this, like pull up their entire ranks, pull up their entire body of work. Also, they're victory lapping so soon. Like they've been doing like victory laps after 2 to 3 weeks. But again, like my entire philosophy and how I drafted all my teams is trying to build these juggernauts by the end of the season. Like if you review my portfolio, like through 6 weeks versus at the end, it's going to be completely different. So I just wish that this account was in better hands because they're just not smart people. And I think it could be a fun thing if it was in better hands.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I would say, and this is why, to me, I'm not unfamiliar with this. It's like at Stochastic, people would always try to dunk on you and be like, well, yesterday you said this chalk play was a play that might not be good, but it ends up being good. And it's ultimately like Pete's talking about, like I did start Probably because it took a lot for me to get there. It took literal years of me grinding DFS, grinding sports betting to figure out this is all just a game of probabilities. When people treat something as binary, you're going to do better by treating it not as binary. And that's a very simple thing that I think yesterday, like Ricky D again showed again on that slate. You ran a 5-1 Titans build out there, wins all the money because everybody's playing 4-2 Packers builds, 5-1 Packers builds. Like that's what happens every single slate, every single DFS time out there. And I think that's where it gets frustrating to me is that if you're coming in as a noob here, you're like, oh, well, these guys are wrong about this. Like, fuck, I was so wrong about Kyle Pitts. I was so wrong about T. Higgins. But on paper, like, I could still be right in the next 5 weeks. And I think that's something, too, that is hard. The nuance of it all can be very difficult. But I think, once again, Ross nails it. We are all weathermen is basically what it is. We're just trying to hold our fingers up to the wind, see which way it's going to go. And you try to make the right picks more often than not. You try to make the right guesses. But it's all about the process and just being willing to get back up to bat time and time again.
And this is where I'll swing to the other side and say where I don't have sympathy for it too, is it all comes down to tone in delivery in packaging, right, of how you do this stuff. And there are a lot of this new generation of hot take artists on Twitter who know they've seen the playbook from Holka, from Sal on how to set up the clickbaity threads. And for those to work, you need to make bold, crazy claims. Like that's how it works. You are an idiot. Like go look at how Nick BDGE titles his videos for his audience. He's like the 5 players your idiot league mates won't pick up. Like that's how clickbait works. So if you want to play that game, I feel like you're making a deal with the devil. You want to play that game. Well, you get to play people coming back at you for putting your words back in. Like if you don't want to actually accept ranges of possibility, like when we talk about GPP plays and be like, we say he has a high ceiling constantly on Sirius XM. We were talking about Christian Watson. I was like, he could put up 30 or he could put up 2 points. Like you have to know that's what you're getting into when you play a boom bust receiver like that. So that's my other thing. If you want to play the clickbait game, you want to do the Twitter thread game, if you want to chase clout and chase that, you have to be ready to live with the other side of the coin. And because you are making an exchange for like accelerated growth because you know the hacking tools, well, then you need to be ready for the pushback because you're playing with fire, I think, in a lot of those instances.
And I think it's one of the things too, where like being an actual good DFS player doesn't necessarily align with what a lot of this content is. And that's something I think, has been a challenge for me, candidly, just doing the streams every day now the last week and trying to do more showdown content and all of that is ultimately like, yeah, Derrick Henry yesterday was a fantastic play. And I pointed out data wise, like rushing EPA for the Green Bay Packers rush defense was so high, but it's also stuff where it's like at a certain point, like, yeah, Derrick Henry's probably going to get there, but if you don't play him in some amount of lineups, like that's the right move because you just want to get different from the field. And if there's a chance Derrick Henry doesn't get there, like he did look kind of shitty in that game. Like if we're being honest about it, running for like basically 3 yards per carry, it's just one of those things that don't make for good content. So for you guys who are following this channel, I would say for Pete and I, it's certainly been a thing that we both hold near and dear. I know Pete, especially showing his process with best ball, doing it, being willing to be wrong on shows, being willing to show the shitty lineups. Like that's what we do here. And I think ultimately that's a differentiation point for us, Pete, that hopefully will help us rise with the time.
I will say too, I think about this a lot. And, I think both you and me, we know like the hacking tricks. Like if we wanted to, Spags and I could go in a lab. We could do the top 5 running backs you must pick up, the top 5 gold star locks of the week. Like we could do that content too.
I still might, to be clear. Like
Spags actually still might do that. But I will say, and this is my point, and the reason I love the Splash Play audience, all the audiences on my show in the Deposit Kingdom is because like your audience is a reflection of who you are and what you want. So what you put out there is what you're going to get back. If you do content that's top 5 guys you must pick up, well, you're going to get a bunch of people who don't want to think critically about fantasy sports, that just want the answers to the test and then are very pissed off at you when you're wrong. So like if that's the audience you want to cultivate, go for it. I'd rather have smart, funny people who like thinking about this through the lens of a puzzle and enjoy the process of it and understand risk reward and the probability spectrum. And then that's what it's like. Okay, you don't have the biggest audience in the world, but at least you don't have a bunch of fucking idiots like breathing down your throat because you wanted to play that other version of the game.
And also, Pete, I can say this with some degree of authority because as you're about to see on the screen right now, you are talking, in fact, to a man who is still number 46 in the world in terms of monthly ranking, Pete, on Roto Grinders. I'm crushing it, though. People are saying you banked the showdown in one of the tournaments last night.
So I won the $1 20 max. That was the exact same size as the big one. So if my lineup was in the big one, I would have chopped 70K up top with yeah. So I had the nut lineup.
You're getting good at showdown though.
Spags, I've always been good at showdown. It's just the small sample sizes, buddy.
Well, that's true. I mean, you didn't win this award last week. The showdown player of the year.
Well,
either way, it's time to hit the Battle Royale streets real fast. And again, Pete will be doing this again with the Badge Bros guys in the afternoon, so come back and check that out on Pete's channel. But let's get into here real fast. So we'll do our ride or die picks, because I'm dying to show Pete the ride or die picks. But we got to do a Battle Royale here, and of course, you can play with us. You can see the promo code down below. Use the promo code SPLASH to double your deposit up to $100. If we ever have a producer on this channel, it'll be because you guys signed up for Underdog at such a high rate using the promo code SPLASH. So wouldn't be mad at you if you went over there and deposited right now, Pete. But we get some nice little Underdog ATF or whatever. What do they call it? Whatever you get to wire, ETF. I've been getting those sent over from time to time now, which is nice.
I'm happy, Spags.
Little taste for you. Not Pete money, not promo code Pete money, but promo code Splash money will buy you an Xbox. I have an Xbox ready. Again, it goes to the show. It all goes to the show.
God, you give this guy a little bit of rope and he'll hang himself.
What are we doing this week, by the way, with Battle Royales? Because I know you're going to talk more about the strategy later today with the Badge Bros. But to me, Justin Fields did not come up in my pre-show optimization with the stochastic projections. And I know you talked about Justin Fields being too chalky. I think he is going to obliterate Atlanta this weekend.
Of course. I mean, it sets up, but like if you're looking at ceiling projections right now, I mean, Lamar, Hurts, and Allen all have higher ceiling projections than Fields, and Fields is going as the first quarterback off the board. So right there alone, I think, there's some inefficiencies a little bit there, a little play on recency bias. Like now in this new situation, like I think Josh Allen should be going ahead of Fields.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I mean, I guess it does make sense, certainly relative to ADPs, and Allen's been going lower. I guess the issue, though, would be like Paul, I was inverted one last week, or had a pretty good showing last week. I think he won. Either way, though, he did really well with Josh Allen, picking him up in the middle of the week when people thought he wasn't going to play. Is that not a risk here? Because Josh Allen, I'm sure, came down a little, and I would say we should take Justin Fields here.
I'm fine taking Fields. Like the way, if you're doing a bunch of these battle royales, like there's some of these guys that you're not going to get based on their ADP. So I normally just play the first round pretty close to the vest as far as ADP. And my thought on the field stuff, and this is going to probably be similar to DFS, is if I am making Fields, I want to overstack this game, because the scenarios where we have seen the 40 burgers from him, the games are getting nutty. And so that would be the only other thing I think about. I'd also take Mark Andrews here, though.
Yeah, I think he's a really good play if he's in. I'm going to be bummed if we take a 0 on this one, but certainly I think Mark Andrews, a very good play going against Carolina. And also worth pointing out too, again, like I think Paul's strategy last week was really sharp with taking Josh Allen, and people had some concerns about the elbow injury, and then he just got him at a much lower ADP than he would have gone. People knew he was at full health. For Battle Royales, I think especially as the prize pool starts to get a little bit lower, like it's 25K up top this week, 50K up top was how it was going early on. I think people are just paying less attention now. And I would say, honestly, the Pauls, the Badge Bros, the guys who are really grinding this one, I think they're going to get really good results down the home stretch just because it's a smaller player pool.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And the thing about Andrews too is like, I think if Andrews were fully healthy and like ADP were fully efficient, I think he should be the 101, because I think the separation of Andrews from the other tight ends would be, like an 8 to 9 point projection gap. Whereas, like I said, I think there's 4 quarterbacks who all have a 30+ point ceiling. And so it's a little flatter there. I do think Mark Andrews would be the 101. This is where I really
wanted AJ Brown there for the record, so I'm down to take whoever you want.
Who's our next? Like, let's go off the board here. Like, who's our next Chicago or Atlanta player available?
Probably Montgomery or Mooney.
Yeah, do Montgomery.
Oof. Okay. I like Mooney more than Montgomery for what it's worth, but I'll take Montgomery here.
Well, I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. I think you can still take Mooney in this build.
Ooh, a Chicago onslaught. You're speaking my language now.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I'm saying of like, if I'm using Fields, I'm betting on this game going crazy. We're already fading the Bills-Browns game with some of these decisions we've made. So I'd rather just lean into that element.
And you can see Nez here again, one of the Badge Bros with the red badge on him there. Josh Allen, Devontae Adams, and Nick Chubb. Let's see what Nez does here. Let's try to get his head a little. Oh, he took Gabe Davis. Oh, he stacked him up. I don't know if that was the right play, Pete.
The other thing I'll say is I'm guessing, and Nez, let me know. I know you guys have the spreadsheet looking at some of the take a drink combinatorial ownership of these guys. I want to assume that Fields Montgomery is a far more unique combo than Fields Mooney, just because people in general don't like to stack the running back with the quarterback. And I also think without Herbert, like Montgomery should catch a decent amount of balls here.
Anybody else jumping? I mean, do we want to just keep loading up on this game, or do we want
this is where I would like throw out ADP and be like either Atlanta What
I like
Atlanta
London.
got?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like London too.
Let's do London. He's also under a 35.5 ADP, which means that he's likely to not be getting drafted a bunch overall. So that gives you a low owned player, the equivalent of those 1% owned plays on your DraftKings and your FanDuel and all of that. And D. Owen saying London is super contrarian. It is a really good wide receiver one matchup for London going into the spot overall. Let me pull that up DVOA wise, but it's one that jumped out to me because I was thinking, oh, Kyle Pitts week, and it's actually not a great tight end matchup, but it is a 30% DVOA boost to wide receiver ones for the Chicago defense, and that is 30th in the league overall is what Atlanta is going to be getting against Chicago.
I would be interested in DJ Moore in this build as well. You know, if we are getting like the high ceiling game from Andrews, not that you have to force a bring back, but I still do like the idea of like, if that game environment gets nutty, I do think DJ Moore will probably be coming along for the ride.
Well, that's one thing that I don't mind either. And this is actually, we'll see when we get into the ride or die picks in a moment here. We're going to have to make, actually, no, we'll be okay time-wise. But I think DJ Moore is a really nice play in that game because I do expect Baltimore to put up a lot of points. And I also expect Baker Mayfield to try his ass off here because this is him basically auditioning for his entire future. So I'm willing to just take Moore here blindly.
Yeah.
All right.
And I do really like in these, you know, we took Fields and Andrews at ADP, and then we've just kind of pretty much thrown ADP out the window, which I think is right. Like when you look at this board, you know, after Higgins there, you know, I just think it's just so flat down here. Like these aren't the elite players that have 30+ point ceilings, and it's just like build whatever team you want. And if you're throwing out ADP here, we're going to end up with a really unique squad.
So I'm curious if you would go one more Bears player or something like that, because I think Olave is kind of interesting going against the Rams. The Rams, certainly people will file away as a team that shuts down the pass. They've actually been weakest against the deep ball this year and best against stopping the run, despite what Jalen Ramsey might talk about in this podcast. So I don't mind taking Olave here, but I could take anybody that you deem.
I would also be down to go with Patterson and go double in this game.
Okay. All right. I look, you're crazy, man. But I think you're not playing a lot of these guys in DFS this week, are you? I guess I'm curious.
No, like I think I am going to have like the Mariota doubles and just this onslaughting this game. I think is definitely going to be on my radar.
Okay.
I'm not going to be using like Montgomery or Fields by themselves or whatever. Like if I use those guys, it'll be this game goes batshit crazy.
So our final team here, as you can see, this is the only one I've drafted so far. Justin Fields, David Montgomery, Cordell Patterson, Drake London, DJ Moore, Mark Andrews. So a solid team there overall, one that's certainly contrarian. And again, Pete will be talking more about this with the Badge Bros guys coming up here. We're doing a lot of work here. And I think that was one thing I talked about with them a couple of weeks ago, that this is a space where there isn't a lot of data out there. You have Herzig doing some stuff, but it's a lot of kind of holding, again, weatherman stuff, holding your finger up to the wind and seeing how it goes. But I think there's interesting info out there.
I did one early week, and I don't think you'd be able to get this anymore. So I got Saquon, Amon-Ra, and then Josh Allen, Gabe Davis, Amari Cooper, Knox. And I'm pretty sure now with how the ADPs and Barkley going one, that these are just combos. Because this was back when everyone thought the game was going to be in that snow. And so Josh Allen was going super late. So that is one of the fun things too. If you can get in there early, you can build some combos that just if you assume like 25-30% of the drafts are done by say Friday, that like 70% of the player pool just doesn't have access to those combinations.
It's gonna be so tilting for you when Dawson Knox gets outscored by 30 points by Isaiah Likely.
we stand the correlation over here with the tight ends.
But it's time, Pete, for ride or die picks, and Pete will give the explainer here. But I want to show this record. So 29 picks right on the year for me, 101 losses, 274 total points. Pete, 22 and 108 with 204 total points. Pete, the reason why you have gotten buried is I had the greatest week in ride or die picks that we've ever had. So I want you to see this. I want you to have to breathe this in because I didn't know it was this good. I certainly knew DFS wise, I had a good week, but you can see here, I got to shrink this screen a little bit more. Hold up. I'm really building up anticipation here to see my results on this Excel spreadsheet. Either way, though, look how many tens.
Let's go through them. I need to know where I need to tighten the screws on this bullshit. Yeah, I can't give you fucking Jefferson over 30 DK points. That was an atrocity. I got soft on that. That's never happening again.
But it was a 10 point. We've established the rule is 10 points higher than the established ETR/stochastic projection. So the things I got right, I'll read them out loud here for you're listening on the podcast feed. Justin Jefferson scores over 30+ DK points. Got that right. Justin Fields and Millie Maker winning lineup. Got that right. Cortland Sutton outscores Derrick Henry. Who would have foreseen that? This guy here got that right. Pete and I both got one right in Jaguars versus Chiefs. Jerick McKinnon outscores Travis Etienne. Pete got that right. I got Travis Kelce in the Millie Maker winning lineup. Pete and I also got, weirdly, we got ones right in the same game. Saints Steelers, we got one right here. Pickens in the Millie Maker winning lineup. Pete got that. I got the game total under 30.5 total points. Normally, those two would not go hand in hand, yet here we are. Other ones I got right. Game total over 53 in Cowboys Packers. And then Cooper Kupp scores under 13.3 DK points. Did I will an injury upon him, Pete? You tell me.
You did. All right. We're tightening the screws on some of this stuff. This has gotten too loose. It's gotten too loose.
I feel fantastic. Like,
no,
I feel,
you know what? The 10 points under spread and the ceiling games for elite wide receivers, that is the new top 5 scores from this game are from the team that's like a 12-point favorite. That's that new one. We're tightening the screws. No more of this loophole bullshit. We're not letting this happen again.
I'm happy to see the results on paper, on Excel that you can see on the stream here. I'll keep that video on the YouTube channel forever so you can go back and reflect upon my Jordan game there. But I think it's nice to see, like, I'm having the best DFS year I've ever had. And I think to see it pair off with ride or die picks, Pete, just feels good. Just feels like a real
shut up. Let's go. I got to go here soon. So let's just get this show on.
All right, Pete, give the people the rules here for ride or die picks, where, of course, they just saw on the board a lot of 10-pointers, but we could do 1 or 3-pointers if we so chose as well.
Yeah, no, ride or die, historically, it's been about making ballsy picks that you get 10 points for, but I've gone too soft on Spags. I've let him, cherry pick some really soft lines, and that's not going to happen anymore. You can also do 1 and 3-pointers. 1-pointer is supposed to be something that has about a 50% chance of happening if you want to take a spread bet, a player scoring more than another player with a similar projection. 3-pointer, a little more adventurous, about a 33% chance of hitting. And then the 10-pointer, which is supposed to be a sub 10% chance of hitting, although we've allowed Spags to get some of these that have like a true 30% chance of hitting. So it's not happening anymore. We got to change the game.
I mean, Willis pointed it out here. I'm just going to read the chat. It was an insane week for Spags. I couldn't believe it. The crazy thing is we collectively gave the people, you and I both, Pete, 3 out of 9 Millie Maker plays with our picks.
Yeah, and fantasy receipts won't write about that, will they?
Yeah, you cowards over at Fantasy Receipts. I dare you to watch this stream and chronicle everything we say and only post the negative things. But Pete, first game on the board, we got Cleveland, 21 implied points. Buffalo, 28.5 implied points. Set the bar for me, Pete, with your first pick.
Yeah, I'll set the bar for you. Let's see here. I want to do, this feels like a Gabe Davis week. I'm just going to start off nice and clean here. Gabe Davis in the winning Millie Maker lineup. Okay.
I will. All right. So I think Diggs is going to be chalky, but I do think Diggs is still the better play. How much does Diggs have to outscore Davis by for a 10-pointer? 20?
No, 25.
Really? How about 22 and a half?
23.
Fine, 23. Stephon Diggs outscores Gabe Davis by 23. I can't wait to put up a 0 this week after being so proud. Rams.
Yeah, we're tightening the screws around here.
too tight, some could say. Pete, when you tighten the screws too much, sometimes the thing will break. I don't know if you know that. You'll know that when you're assembling baby furniture.
Yeah, I've assembled some Spags. Trust me.
Rams, 18 implied points. New Orleans, 21 implied points. I'll let you go first again, Pete, because this is a game with a lot of dog shit.
Yeah. What's the total on this game?
It is 39.
39. I'll take under 29.
Well, I'm going to flip the script, Pete. Over 49 is what I'll project in this game.
Over 51.
It's got to be 10 points. You can't tighten the screws that much.
I mean, yes, I can. I'll go under. What did I get you? Let's add 2 in each direction. So under 27, over 51.
All right, fine. That's as long as you're taking it on the other side, that's fine by me then. That's how betting works, guys. Philadelphia, 26 implied points. Indianapolis, 19.5 implied points. I'm going to go first in this one. AJ Brown, Millie Maker winning lineup.
Okay, I like that. I want to find a way to short some of these Colts that are going to be extremely popular. It seems like both Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell are going to be played a ton. Let me do a little bit of math. 26. Give me, I mean, A 3-pointer based on my projections, and you look at yours, would be Jalen Hurts outscoring both Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell.
Jalen Hurts outscoring Mike. No way. He's got, so I'm seeing Jalen Hurts a 22.3 projection,
Yep.
Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell combined for 23.2.
I have Pittman and Paris Campbell combined for 26 points and Hurts at 23.
So you're saying it's a 3-pointer?
Yeah, not a 10.
All right. I mean, like if it's not a 10, I'll give away threes easy. I got a 70-point lead, Pete. I could give away threes left and right.
Thank you, Spags.
Giving away like Oprah, giving away cars. Next game on the board, we got also worth pointing out to me, Jonathan Taylor, I think is a nice play to pair with AJ Brown in your Millie Maker winning lineups. Carolina, 14 implied points. That is one of the lowest totals of the year. Baltimore, 27 implied points on their side. Pete, we talked about Mark Andrews already. Important to watch the injury news on him, but what do you want in this game?
I want 10 points I want a 10-pointer for if Justice Hill outscores Baker Mayfield.
I don't know about that. Baker's been pretty bad, Pete.
It's a quarterback versus the third running back in their committee right now.
It's a quarterback with a 14-point implied total.
What projection do you have? I have 3.8 and 12 for Baker.
I have 11.5 for Baker from Stochastic, and then Justice Hill's not on my sheet right now because Kenny Drake.
Oh, okay, so it has to be a 10. You didn't even have time to put him on your sheet. That's what a bad play he is.
Let me control F Justice Hill spelled stupidly. It's gonna throw me for a loop. All right. No, that's Justin Fields. There's too many Justs in this league. Justin Jackson, Justin Watson. Okay. Oh, wait, there we go. I just missed it. I'm gonna really slow this show down, Pete, just the way you like it. All right. Justice Hill, so Cassick has him at 3.2. I think he's got to outscore Baker by 2 points then.
No. It's a 10-pointer. He's not even on your sheet, Spags. If he's not on your sheet, it's a 10-pointer.
He's not on my sheet because he's not number 2 on the depth chart. He's number 3 on the depth chart.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about the third running back versus starting quarterback in an NFL game. This is a 10-pointer.
All right, fine. Baker Mayfield. So I have him at 11.5 projection. Then I will say Baker Mayfield scores over 21.5 fantasy points.
Yeah, I'll give that to you.
Okay, there we go. Fuck you, Justice Hill. How dare you? How dare you pop into my stream? Washington, 21.8 implied points. Houston, 18.8 implied points. Not a pretty game on paper, Pete, but I will take, I think, an exciting, low-owned play. Brian Robinson, 100 yards and a touchdown. Is that a 10-pointer?
100 yards and a touchdown. 100 rushing yards?
Yes.
Sure. I'll give you 100 rushing yards and a touchdown as a 10-pointer. And I want to short Brian Robinson. I will say, how can I short him? What if I say that non-Damian Pierce Houston running backs will outscore Brian Robinson?
Ooh. I mean, that's got to be a 10 because I guess it would be Eno, or you fucking backdoored Eno?
Little backdoor Eno with a little Rex Burkhead hedge in case Eno's not completely ready.
Well, I think Burkhead's projected for 0 right now. I think he might be inactive, at least based on what Stochastic is.
So yeah, so just give me backup running backs.
Wow.
The
All
Texans
right.
outscoring Brian Robinson.
Brian Robinson was getting a lot of work, I think, last week. And this is the spot. If you play a running back against Houston, it'll pay off. And this ownership for Dameon Pierce, by the way, absolutely insane. It should not be 20% ownership for Dameon Pierce against Washington's defense, which has a minus 0.137 rushing EPA on the year. If you play Dameon Pierce, you are a fool this week. I will say that out loud.
People fucking love Dameon Pierce, man. The Slappies love Dameon Pierce.
Take him out of the player pool, just like I said last week. Ended up being right. I think it'll be right again. Chicago, 23 implied points. Atlanta, 26 implied points. 49-point over-under has not moved at all during the week, so this is pretty reflective of what the situation should be. Pete, what do you want in this game? And worth pointing out, too, no Khalil Herbert. He is an IR, so that's why David Montgomery looks like a much better play.
Yeah, let's Drake London is going to smash this week. Let's put him in the winning Millie Maker lineup.
Ooh, I like that call. I'm just going to say Justin Fields, Millie Maker winning lineup again. I just think he is not priced appropriately for what he's doing right now. He is one of the best rushing QBs I've seen in my life, and I've been around for long enough, and I think it's only going to get better from here. So I'm a big fan of that. Also, designed runs for him up to 9 per game in the last few weeks. That's worth pointing out. Willie's saying Pierce is a good play this week. No, he's not. If he's going to be 20% owned.
He's not a good play at that ownership. Let's see. Spags, the one thing I'll say about Fields, and he's absolutely set to smash this week. I'm not going to disagree with that, but the schedule does get really hard coming up because they go on the road at the Jets, then they play the Packers, then they have a bye week, then Eagles, then Bills. Like, it's going to be a tough stretch, and he definitely has the tools to overcome it, but he'll need to continue to rip off really big run plays, I think, to access 30-point ceiling week after week.
I think he's going to get there against Atlanta, but I agree with you. There's going to be a real like death knell. Like, people are going to play him at 20%. And he's going to put up 15 fantasy points or something, but that's not going to be this week. I don't think, at least that's not how I'm reflecting it. Jets 17.3 implied points. New England 20.8 implied points. Pete, what do you want in this game that seems a little more defense forward?
Yeah. What projections do you have for Ramondre and Garrett Wilson?
For Ramondre, I am seeing 19.99 from Stochastic. Garrett Wilson, 13.2.
So 6-point gap. Give me Garrett Wilson outscores Ramondre by 4.
Okay, I'll accept that. I will say in this one, boy, I really do not. I'll say this one scores. So the total right now is at 38. I think it scores under 28.
No, we've been doing the extra 2.
Okay,
so
under 12. So under 26.
Yep.
Okay, under 26 it is. Willie digging his heels, and I'll be at 80%. Pierce, you are Willie.
You know what? This is what Willie was at 50%, but then after that exchange and we said he was a bad play, he dug his heels in even more and boosted it up to 80 just to stick it to us.
Willie, tag at Fantasy Receipts on Twitter. Let him know. Detroit, 21 implied points. New York Giants, 24 implied points. I'm going first for this one. Saquon Barkley, I think, boy, he's got a 20-point or a 21-point projection from Stochastic. Would you give me a 10 for 31?
On Barkley?
Yeah.
No, 35 is the new 10-pointer for Barkley. How
about 33?
35. No 34? Negotiation here. I'm not. This is the same Justin Jefferson spot as last week, and we're adding a few points to it.
All right, fine. I will take Saquon Barkley, scores 35 fantasy points, but I still don't know if that's going to be enough to make the Millie Maker winning lineup at his price tag.
Can I get 10 points if Daniel Jones outscores Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, I'll give it to. I mean, honestly, it shouldn't be because it looks like the projections are 20.99 for Saquon, 19.9 for Daniel Jones from Stochastic, which made him come up an uncomfortable amount on Fantasy Cruncher, and I do not think that's the move.
All right, I'll do, because I want this, I want this to be a fair enterprise. I'll say he outscores him by 5.
All right, I'll allow that. I also have to point out Isaiah Hodgins was coming up a lot in lineups because he's 3K flat, and I guess he's been getting some routes. I would not play Isaiah Hodgins. I don't know why. I don't know what was going on, but I ran a crunch before the show, so I knew the plays I don't want to make. And Isaiah Hodgins right up there with all of them.
I think people are going to be coming around on playing Kendall Hinton at 3,600. I think that's going to be the pump play people are on for right now.
Yeah, he did look pretty good box score wise. Vegas night. Speaking of Vegas, 19.3 implied points. Denver, the Denver Kendall Hittens, the Denver Elon Musk, 21.8 implied points. What do you want in this one, Pete?
Yeah, this is such a shit show. Can I get a 10-pointer if Greg Dulcich outscores Devontae Adams?
Oh, damn it. I don't think it should be. It's a 7-point difference. He has to outscore him by.
I'll do by 3.
How about by 4?
3.5.
Okay, fine. Outscores him by 3.5. Greg Dulcich outscores Devontae Adams by 3.5 is Pete's pick. And for me, I will say, so Cortland Sutton can't get there, right, Pete? 100 yards and a touchdown. Is that a 10-pointer?
No.
125 and a touchdown?
Over 30 DraftKings points is a 10-pointer.
I mean, Stochastic has Sutton, but they're assuming Jeudy's in. They've got Sutton at 13.8. But obviously that's going to go up if Jeudy's out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So over 30, fine. Over 29.5 fantasy points.
Sure.
Okay. I'll take it. One day, Cortland Sutton's going to hit. Dallas, 25 implied points. Minnesota, 23.5 implied points. And I'm going to say out loud, I read a lot of articles. We watch a lot of shows, read a lot of things. One of the things that I do that I think has been helpful. A lot of people out there who are not the sharpest really tout this game as a shootout, Pete. So I'm going to go first in this one. And I don't know that I believe this, but I just think this is the way it goes. This game has a 48.5 total. I think it scores under 36.5.
I'll give you that. Throw me in the non-sharp bucket. I think this will be a fun fantasy game. Give me 10 points. TJ Hawkinson outscores Justin Jefferson.
How's that outscoring by 1.5, I think, based on the projection.
What's your projection?
11.7 versus 20.1.
Sure.
Okay.
1.5.
Done. Cincinnati, 22.3 implied points. Pittsburgh, 18.3 implied points. Kind of a surprisingly low total in this one, Pete. What do you want in this one, and why is it a T. Higgins breakout game?
I am going to do, normally if you say one specific player in the Millie Maker, that's 10. Can I say 2 players from this game will be in the Millie Maker lineup for 10? But I don't
not
have to
identify
name which
them?
2. Yeah.
You would have to say 2 from which team, I think. It can't just be from the game.
All right. I'll say
1 from each.
Oh, you want me to actually specify? But then that's 2.
Yeah.
Then I could just do 1, and that would be easier.
Well, no, because you don't have to identify the player. I just want you to tell me which team these 2 players will come from.
Yeah, one player from Cincinnati, 1 player from Pitt.
Okay, done.
At least, like if it's a stack, like a Joe Burrow Higgins mix in, I still get that.
I think Jay Emdewin will buy in when you talk about that with him in a little bit, because he's been touting us. Every week I watch, it's like Pickett's going to break out, and this week, Pete, this could be it. You guys could both be great.
We had a bunch of start-sit decisions last night across our FFPC leagues that were a lot of like Burks versus Pickens and Burks versus all these players. And Pat was on Burks, and we were on the Pickens side. So it's going to be a sweat to see if Pickens can match Burks from last night.
That's going to be tough. I don't know if that's going to happen against Cincinnati, but we'll find out. Sunday Night Football, last game on the slate where we could just pick a showdown winning captain for 10 points. Pete, we got Kansas City, 28.5 implied points. Chargers, 23.5 implied points. A game so potentially potent that they flexed it over to Sunday Night Football. Who's going to be your showdown winning captain?
Yeah, this one's tough with so much injury news up in the air. I'll go chalky and take Austin Eckler captain, though.
What if I were to say 2 Kansas City running backs make the winning lineup? Is that a 10-pointer?
I'll give you 10 for that.
Okay, done. We're locked in. Pete, give the people the plugs here, because there's a lot of content coming up from you in the next 5 hours of the day. So tell people where you're going to be next.
Yep, I'm going to do Sirius XM 11 to 1. Then I'm going to do my GPP show with JM to Win at 2 p.m. on my channel. And then at 3:30, going to have the Badge Bros come by. We're going to do a little bit more Battle Royale strategy talk for week 11. And then, yeah, Sunday morning back for my GPP cram at 10:30.
Yeah, and Sunday morning, I'll be on the Stochastic channel doing the show with Josh Engelman, I think at 8:45 in the morning. So wake up early, come hang out with me then. Watch me be bleary-eyed if the baby doesn't sleep through the night. And of course, subscribe, like, and comment before you go. Make sure to follow me at Chris
Get that one, fantasy receipts.
Oh, Chris Spags at Chris Spags on Twitter. Follow me on there. Follow at Peter Overs. That's slash play. I'm bullying myself on the stream, so you can't get me fantasy receipts. And Pete and I will be back next week. I'll be on doing shows probably Monday through Wednesday at 2 p.m. So hang out for that, and we'll see you guys then. Enjoy your weekends, and bye.